Hello. My door is closed because the kiddo is home from school, not because of terrible weather, but because a lot of people in the local school system are sick. So with so many teachers out, either because the teachers are sick or because they're staying home to tend their sick kids, school was closed for the week. This is not the first time this school has done this. So door is closed to keep out his noise, and I don't know if the cats will get mad and come banging on the doors or not, but we'll see. So if you follow my Instagram, you know I have done some stuff since last week. The first thing is, of course, getting the reroute all put together. Got her hair styled, got a body. I went through my box of bodies, and her head is from 1979 or 80, so she has that particularly, well, not terribly orange skin tone that Barbie's got into as the 80s progressed and was like established in the 90s, but she's still a little peachier than any modern body that you're going to find. So well, I don't have any spare made to move bodies, but like the articulated fashionistas bodies I had were just way too beige to match her. But I did find a flat foot gymnast body. Actually, I found another one that the color match seemed even better. Oh, there's something on her face. But that body was shiny, and this body has a really matte finish to the skin, so I just thought that suited her better. And the color match is really, really close, so I'm not complaining. And I did my usual modification to the gymnast bodies, is to hold their hands over a hot electric burner element on the stove until they get just a little bit soft, and then curve them so they're just a little bit more graceful than the weird karate chop hands. And also I attempted my continuing quest to carve down the feet until it gets to be, well, this is a pair of, these are actually the shoes that came on the Made to Move Curvy Dancer, which I also cut out parts of those. So I could probably go back again and carve more off the feet and make them the same size as an original or petite fashionista's body with flat feet, so she could wear those sizes. But the sanding drum on the Dremel is really small, so this like takes an annoying amount of time even to carve them down. Hold on. An annoying amount of time to carve them down from this to this. You see, I actually had already drawn the shape on this, and the way I get that shape is I just lay a curvy up next to the leg and literally just trace around it. And so you see the feet are smaller. This actually looks a lot like a Francie foot to me, if you ask me. But I'm not going to dig Francie out and show you those feet. It's just an observation. So I actually did that to a few flat foot gymnast Barbie bodies because there aren't a lot of shoe options for these. There aren't a lot of shoe options for this either, but there are more just because they're a little bit smaller. So not only can they wear like flat curvy shoes, like the shoe pack that had that pair of sort of fringy beige gladiator sandals, those sandals will fit on these feet now with no problem. And they can also wear all the shoes that would fit on this, like the old gymnast style, very, very 90s style high tops. And the Skipper, teen Skipper and late 90s fake Converse style shoes can be squeezed onto these, but they fit much better on these, like you can get socks into them. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how she turned out. Although, the more I move her around, the more her hair gets disturbed. Because I'm not great at styling complicated hair. And I did 2 stages to get her hairstyle. The first stage was just to get everything flat. And then the second stage I put a straw, little segment of this drinking straw. The drinking straws that I have been curling doll hair on for years, I say. So I have this stash of little cut up sections of drinking straw that I keep around and reuse for doll customizing. So I took one of those little segments of drinking straw, put it in her head, put the hair over it, I also had these strips of super stretchy thin knit cloth that I used to hold the hair in place. So I took one of those bits of cloth and wrapped it around her head, because when you use the wide cloth like that, it doesn't leave dents like it does when you use a rubber band to hold things in place. And then I took another piece of my long strip of knit cloth and like folded it in four, rolled it up, put it here, and then wrapped another piece of cloth over the top of that to make the slight curl. Then put her in more boiling hot water, and when that dried, I cut everything. Actually, I got impatient. I cut everything before it was quite dry. But other than this one hair here that is suddenly flipping out, okay, I got it. So happy with her for an impulse reroute that I had no idea I was going to do, and I just did find another stray hair that's too long. So I don't regret doing this at all. And more hairs. So I'll put her down before her hairs do anything more annoying. But while I was in the box rummaging around for her body, I started matching a lot of other bodies to other dolls. And I had some dolls in there with heads being held, like when I want to put a head on a body, but for some reason I haven't yet, I'll just stick the head on the doll's hand. So there were a couple dolls that they were just bodies with heads stuck on the hand. So the original intent I'd had was to paint the bodies to match. But if I don't have to do that, I really don't want to do it, because of course a layer of paint will never be as durable as a doll whose plastic is that color. So one of the dolls whose head was on a hand of a body to be maybe painted someday was that Hasbro Fashions by Me head that Kate's Creations sent. Thanks again, Kate. And I was looking at that head, and again, it's not just Barbie, who was very warm and a little orangish in the early 80s. It seems to be a lot of fashion dolls. So I was looking at this head and noticed that she's very orange. I thought maybe she would match the Get Real Girl Gabby that Eric sent a while ago. So I found Gabby and I got her out, and I think the skin tones would match, but I decided I liked Gabby too much as she is. So I just went ahead and addressed her. This is the Get Real Girls Gabby that came in the karate outfit. It's not the original one who came in the soccer gear. The dolls are completely the same except for their hair. The first one has relatively short hair pulled up. This one has obviously the longer hair, and I think that hair, it's also fairly nice fiber. It's not too coarse. And the hair makes all the difference. I really like this, and thanks again, Eric. I'm finally starting to appreciate these dolls more than I did when they were new in about, what, 2002, when I was buying them just for their bodies. But now I appreciate their faces. So Gabby did not lose her head to Hasbro Fashions by Me. But I was looking around and I realized that the Live, I think they're called Making Waves, it's the beach line, I think the doll was Alexis or Alexia. I don't remember. I used to think it was Daniela, but I looked it up. It's not. It's Alexis. Her body was being used by the AA Creative Flower Princess Liana that I had thrifted, but I realized the match was okay with that head, but not great, but it probably would be better with Fashions by Me. So here she is on that Live body, which, as you can see, and it's probably even more obvious in the video because cameras do weird things that the human eye can't see when it comes to colors of plastics, but you see the kneecaps and the feet and the hands are completely different colors than the rest of the body. So even if the head didn't match that well, which it does actually match pretty well, that's okay because the body doesn't match itself. Anyway, so I got her. I don't know if you can see. You can hear the noisy vehicle and see where the head meets the neck, that the color, at least to the human eye, is pretty good. Like I said, I don't know how the camera will capture it. So, like I said, I had a Fashions by Me, the blonde version, when I was little, when they were new. So this face is super familiar because just I remember my childhood dolls. And the thing about Fashions by Me is originally their only articulation was the head being able to turn side to side. It could not even swivel or tilt. It could only swivel. And the rest of the body is about 13 inches tall, so technically it should probably be in a taller body, but Liv had big heads, so I think the big head on this body is not too jarring stylistically. But the Fashions by Me had a body that was just posed standing with its arms slightly out, no articulation of the shoulders or hips or waist or anything, because there were these big grooves in the sides of the arms and torso and legs that you were supposed to stuff cloth into to make the Fashions by Me. I never did that, actually. I remember the cloth that the doll came with I thought was so cool that I just like wrapped it around dolls as scarves and headdresses because I didn't want to cut into it. But the way it was sold was it had patterns for you to cut out so you could stuff these things into the body to make clothes. But I thought that cloth was too cool, and obviously I eventually learned to sew myself, so I can't say that doll was very influential on me in terms of making clothes for dolls, but this is a super 1982/83 face for me, and I was so thrilled when I pulled that out of the box that Kate sent because nostalgia. So that left another nostalgia face, the Create a Liana head that had been on this body, in need of a body. But the reason I was able to bring myself to have her give up that body so this body could go with this head is because, again, like I said, the modern Barbies aren't quite orange enough, but this Barbie style Nikki body, which is basically the 2009 Fashionistas articulated body, only with ankles. It's pretty close. It's not great. He said her head is a lot ruddier than the rest of the body, but it's good enough. And I do admit that I like this head on the slightly more graceful Barbie body more than I liked it on the Liv body. So that was that head swapping adventure. Oh, another thing. Once I realized that Gabi and Fashions by Me, who I probably always call Fashions by Me instead of giving her name just because it's funny to have a doll named Fashions by Me. Once I realized that they had a pretty close skin tone, I actually looked at their face paint and the way they both have brown eyes. Yeah, two-tone brown eyes. I think Actually, I'm looking at Fashions by Me again, and her eyes aren't two-tone brown. I don't know why I thought they were two-tone brown. But I thought their makeup, their paint scheme was actually pretty close. So if I did doll stories and relationships, they would be related somehow. And actually originally thought that maybe she would be her mom. So I started trying to dress her kind of mom style. And I obviously got to about here and said, nah, I don't have mom jeans. I'm going to put her in shorts. So that was a fun diversion. Still haven't taken pictures of these two together yet. And another doll head on body combination that I wanted to try was Darcy CoverGirl on a gymnast Barbie body. Again, Darcy is a lot redder in skin tone than modern Barbie bodies, so the head won't fit. I mean, I know there are some made-to-move bodies that are oranger, but as far as the bodies I have in reserve in my body box go, the redder and oranger bodies are all that I have are all going to be flat foot gymnast. And this is another one that I carved the feet down on, so you can see even through the socks that the feet are smaller. And these are old Skipper shoes. These were actually originally made in the early 90s for the 1987 Skipper body, but they actually got reused for Teen Skipper a few times. So this is one of the this head is from one of the Darcy dolls that Deb Jones sent. Thanks again, Deb. And that Darcy had been missing a hand. Now I would like to get articulated arms and legs onto the Darcy body because I do like the Darcy torso and the fact that the Darcy body is bigger because Darcy was an inch taller than Barbie. But for now, I have the Darcy in here. And the story that goes with it is when I was like 4 or 5, when Darcy dolls were new, I got one for Christmas. And I thought on the box it showed her doing the splits. So I wanted her to do the splits. And I did this. And I had the doll in one hand and the leg in the other hand. So initially my mom tried to fix it. She got like, I remember distinctly she had florist wire, and she'd like wrapped a wire around the leg and around the body to wire the leg back on, and that didn't really work. So two things happened. Eventually they took me to pick out a replacement doll, and that's when I got the Dana CoverGirl doll, who I still have mostly intact. I mean, she had some cats chew on her fingers, and I gave her a haircut when I was a kid and realized that disco wasn't trendy anymore. But the other thing was that Mom put that Darcy head on a Barbie body. And I realized when I put this combination together that I had not done that combination of Darcy head on Barbie body for about 40 years. So I'm not saying that's how long I've been customizing, because Mom did that, but it amused me. So yeah, I got Darcy. And then two more dolls. Well, I also had to take her downstairs and use the Dremel to open her neck up, because like I said, this doll was originally turn only. So I Dremeled out the inside of her head to get that to go on this body. And I think there's either a bread tag or some other kind of spacer on her neck to hold the head on. And so I was down there with the Dremel. I opened up the neck hole of this Jackie Vanco head, because if you've been following me for a while, this is probably done long enough ago that once Flickr's new rules kick in, the photos will be deleted. But I did a doll called Pyrite, which is this Jackie Vanco head on a high-heeled, old-style gymnast kind of Barbie body like this. And I painted it gray with like a shimmering gold overtone and gave her like these just black eyes with these spiky teeth. And she eventually found a new home, but I'm thinking of doing a custom like that again, just because it amused me so much. So I got this head on this body, and we'll eventually do that. I should probably cut under her arms too, so they can get in closer to the body. So that's some more Dremel work. And then the other body I Dremeled the feet on was this one. I haven't done anything to make her head, since she has a head that goes on an old neck sphere type thing. I really need to cut apart like a glue head Barbie and just cut the ring around the neck opening on the glue head and put that on here, and then that will make it big enough to hold this head in place. And this was the last one I did in terms of making the feet smaller, and they're real rough. Like I said, I was down there with the Dremel using the cutoff disc, and it was taking forever, and I thought, alright, fine, that's good enough. I will go up and I will sand them with something smaller. And I started sanding. It's like, I don't want to do this. So I thought, what would John do? And I got my acetone and a paper towel, and I used the acetone to chemically smooth out these feet. So it's not that pretty, but it is kind of done. And I may or may not go back in the future and make them smaller to fit more shoes. But I probably won't, because we all know that I like to move on from project to project to project. And another head that Kate's Creation had sent that had been on hand on a body, waiting for the body to be painted, but I changed my mind on it because I didn't want to paint the body, was this Barbie and the Rockers Dancing Action Dee Dee head, which I realized might kind of go with the last of the AA Made to Move mountain climbers that Lori had sent. Thanks again, everybody. Now this head was actually originally kind of gray and too pale for this body, so I got my mug that I've been using to boil doll parts in for ages, put some water in it, microwaved it till it was boiling, took my really old, regular old, it's not the synthetic Rit, just the regular old Rit bottle of brown that I had, and I like shook it up really well while it was microwaving, and poured just a little bit in the mug as soon as it came out of the microwave, and stuck this head in like 2 dunks for 30 seconds, and that did dye her head quite a bit. So now she is a little darker than the body, but I don't care. I am just so happy to have this head on a good modern body, because I really like the combination of this smaller, old 1980s Barbie head on a modern body. And she's not wearing, I did not make anything she wore. This is a Dynamite Girls Vintage Vinyl Reese from an Integrity Toys shirt, and this is a Fresh Doll skirt, and this is some floofy Barbie thing I'm using for a petticoat. So, that was my big burst of activity on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday. You probably saw the video I put up showing how to paint pose doll style faces on fashion dolls that don't have much eye definition. And so just here she is in this video. If you didn't notice it, it's the video right before this one where I just painted her face. It was a fairly unplanned video. I had not even thought about using this doll head. This is another thing that Eric sent. Thanks again. And I know he was probably thinking, and I was really thinking I would use her body because it was articulated. But I'd had some Winx Bloom heads set aside to maybe do this kind of paint on for a while. But once I realized that this head, again, I was digging into bodies, trying to match these heads. But once I realized that this head matched this live body, I immediately, when I was dremeling out necks, I used the Dremel to enlarge her neck to fit on this body. There might be a bread tag involved, I don't remember. And then on Monday, I painted her, and here she is. I also set her hair up on pipe cleaner curls, and well, here she is. And then yesterday I made this shirt. So I've been a little more busy since last week than I was the week before. I don't know if I'll be able to keep this burst of activity up, but I hope so. And we'll know next week. I know it's cheesy, but I think if you didn't watch cheesy, you wouldn't watch me. So thank you for watching, whatever you do. See you next week. Somebody is sleeping on my desk.